Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gone Fishin, the podcast where we leave behind the industry and focus on the creative. Today, we actually don't have a typical guest because I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about something that happened to me regarding the creative field. And I thought this could be a good platform to share it. I didn't take any notes or plan anything besides just thinking about this at work. So this might be a little off the cuff. I s- I realized that recently I had experienced really bad burnout. Like I didn't quite feel like myself, and I felt like I couldn't functionally do a lot. Where I couldn't, I didn't have the energy to want to open up my notebook to brainstorm or even update my whiteboard if there was something that had been taken care of in between now and when it happened. And I I want to talk about it because I don't know. Now that I'm out of it, I think it's something good to share with any other creatives. Where I I think it's really easy to romanticize this idea of grind culture. I believe in my dream so much that it's not even considered work. I love it and it's everything I want to do. I think that's great, but I think that only exists in TikToks of people pretending that have done what they wanted to do. Because I love YouTube. I love making the videos I make, but they are work. Work goes into research, work goes into writing, work goes into editing, etc., etc. And I love that work, but it's still work. Now, I think I've talked about it elsewhere, but I do have another job. I am a cashier, and I always have that constant thought of every day I'm not being productive is a day that I could be is another day that I have to work here. And I don't want to give power or credence to that. Well, I don't want to give my actual job my mental priority because it's not what I want to do. And what I realized recently is that is what I have to do, and I'm not deprioritizing YouTube anymore. This is still my dream. I still want to make it reality, but I need to acknowledge that it almost has first bid on my energy. And any time that I it it's something I have to keep in mind if I want to be productive around work, because sometimes I don't have the energy to do what I want to do after work or before work or during work, because sometimes I like to jot ideas out in between customers. So I saw a version the version of myself that I never wanted to see, where I kind of like I was, and I know when people say this it's a joke, but I try to like be optimistic where I can, but I would joke about hating my life, or I would joke about not being happy, or anything along those lines. And that's not the, I try not to be that person. And naturally, you have bad days, you have bad times. And the solution to that, it, what I always thought was, okay, I just got to push myself harder. Okay, I got to get through this patch, I got to make progress. What I didn't realize was by not letting myself take just a couple of days where I wasn't feeling pressure, because I have the optional pressure that like I get to turn on and off how much pressure YouTube's given me. And I hope that, and well, not that I hope, I will make that like my number one priority one day. But being exhausted from work and then mentally drained from family stuff that I won't talk about because of other people's privacy reasons, and self-perception stuff that I won't talk about for my privacy reasons. It was, I wasn't giving myself a moment to breathe. I wasn't giving myself a moment to relax because I would wake up early and I would try to do productive stuff. And then I would go to work, and then work would be rough. Maybe I would get some texts about family stuff. Maybe something else would happen. And then instead of on any breaks decompressing, I would bring my notebook out. And even if I wasn't making progress, the fact that I wasn't letting myself relax, the fact that I wasn't saying, okay, this is just free time, meant I wasn't recharging. So all this stuff just kept piling on. And the entire time I was like, okay, well, theoretically speaking, I can still write, I can still work, I can still edit, I can still plan. So anytime that I theoretically could, I was freezing myself. I was essentially freezing myself because I was essentially freezing myself in this perpetual cycle of not having the energy to do what I wanted to do. And it sucked because I wasn't making any progress, but I also wasn't resting. I wasn't relaxing. I actually, I had a friend, because I have friends that check in because I always yap about whatever I'm working on. And if I go a while without talking about it, I have friends that will be like, hey, so how's that going? And this past Wednesday, before I really realized I was burnt out, someone messaged me joking, like, okay, well, is the video going to be done this year? Which, really good joke. But it was this internal thing because it had felt like everything had been getting harder. If I had errands to run, then my shoes not being easy to put on was worth cursing the world for. If plans got canceled that I would normally look forward to, I was excited because, okay, cool, that's more time I can work on video stuff. And this had gone on to the point where I believe it was this most recent Wednesday at the time of filming. I don't know when this will be out, but today is Saturday, August 8th. But that Wednesday, I was trying to schedule an appointment for something, and one of the systems didn't work how I thought it would, and I kind of crashed out. I got so upset. I got so mad because I missed a checkbox, and I would have to contact someone to fix it, and I was so upset. And I just stopped for a moment and thought, okay, I get overwhelmed sometimes, but it's never this bad. What's going on? And it was at that point where I was like, okay, I'm behind on schedule. I'm behind on schedule on all fronts. I told my Patreon that they were going to get an unbeatable short, a short on the game unbeatable, this week. I still have other stuff I need to do for Patreon, annotate a script of a video that did really well. I gotta finish the outline for this current video. I still haven't invited the guest for Gone Fishing. Hello, the guest is me today. But I was just like, this isn't working. And I had a luckier time than most, because my solution, I just played Final Fantasy XIV for a couple of days. I had some days off, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to, naturally, I'm still going to take care of myself, but I'm going to take care of myself, but I'm just going to enjoy the story of this game, because I'm at the Endwalker expansion, and if you know anything about Final Fantasy XIV, the Endwalker expansion is really good. And I'm fortunate because I bounce back from... I bounce between emotions really fast, just being transparent. So like, I get, if I am going down, it happens quickly. If I'm coming up, it happens quickly. Whatever. We're all different. It's all interesting. We don't got to get into details. But I had spent weeks upset, and it kept getting worse. Where I would wake up in the morning and I would just like look at my notebook, or I would constantly spend the entire day watching YouTube videos that didn't require a lot of commitment, because I could be like, oh, well, after this video, I'm going to get straight to work. And then the entire day would be gone. And not only did I not make any progress, but I also didn't even consume art that felt additive. So I just decided, okay, constantly trying to burn the candle at two ends will either get you a finished product, or it will just leave you with a bunch of wax. So let me just take some time to relax. And if you're a creative and you find it hard to work, now don't get me wrong, sometimes the right answer is you need to push. You need to push yourself, and you need to work a little bit harder, because a lot of creativity is based on momentum, and sometimes you got to build up that momentum. And that's one thing. But if you realize that you just can't build momentum, try taking a couple of days off. And maybe you have some situations that don't, like, your problems aren't solved by that. And I'm sorry that, like, if this feels like a situation where it's like, oh, are you sad? Just go outside. Of course it's not that simple. It's never that simple. But I spend so much time even unable to come up with ideas, to even want to talk about being productive. I took a couple of days off, and by the end of that second day off, I was already brainstorming because I felt back. Sometimes willpower is the answer, and sometimes thinking willpower is the answer is the problem. This won't solve every case of burnout in the world, and also, again, sorry, no script. I'm sure this is apparent, but you don't need to be doing a lot of creative stuff to feel burnout. Sometimes you just don't have the mental energy. Sometimes you just need rest. And I think the best thing you can do is get that rest. I am so confident in the direction that I am heading towards right now. With my video on nostalgia and my short, I realized that, like, the script I threw together wasn't quite what I wanted, so I'm gonna, like, rewrite it. But I feel so confident in my direction. I feel so confident in what I want to do for making stuff. And all it took to get that version of me back, the one that I like, was just taking a couple of days to relax. I took the time that I could to relax. And I know sometimes it's, you don't get a couple of days to relax. You don't get time to take a break. And I wish I had an answer besides that. But if you feel like you're pushing yourself more and more, just trying to get something to work, you can't get this string of notes to work. You can't draw something that you like. You can't write something that hooks you properly, or you can't work on a video about nostalgia. Maybe the answer isn't to push through. Maybe it's to set up a chair at the wall and wait until you have the energy to push through. Because who knows? Maybe the only reason that wall is there is because you won't stop running. Take a break. Your art will always be there waiting for you. I don't know if any of this made sense. I actually, to give an idea of how much this break worked for me, I worked today. Like, I came home from a shift, and I was like, okay, yeah, I have energy to record. I have energy to do this. I didn't have energy to write in notebooks on my days off when I had slept in. But You know, I never know how to end podcast episodes. That's why I normally like to ask the guest to end it for me. But yeah, I guess this is my creative advice to people who are getting started. It's easy to romanticize the grind. It's easy to romanticize this idea of, oh, I always want to work because to me this isn't work, it's what I want to do. But the road's never so black and white. Typically, it's romanticized because it doesn't happen. And you know what? Maybe it can. But, I mean, I don't have a flowery way to put it. Take a break.